For you to feel safe in the gym, what do we need?
Good leadership, first of all.
Most people will guide that through performance. And I noticed that you focused a lot more, your leadership and your style, into culture.
Well, my goal for the collective, I wanted it to be no drama, no affiliation, no politics. Just come and have fun and, meet new people. Because, let's be real, what keeps you engaged in a sport long term, especially in adulthood, you make friends through hobbies, right? Hobbies and sports compared to anything else. So that was really the goal, just to connect more women. Because in your individual gyms, you might have, at a small gym, you might have 5 girls. At a big gym, you might have 20. But if you get everyone together, you realize there's heaps of us out there. Really traditional jiu-jitsu schools are very, I want to say, culty. Historically, jiu-jitsu instructors or coaches or professors haven't wanted their students to go to other places to visit, right? The goal of it is really just, making the sport a better place than when you found it, right?
I knew it.
You're on.
No, but it's okay. That's usually our start. But one part that I wanted to start with you, I was to be completely honest, I was coming up with some subjects, some topics. I was looking at Jess, black belt, academy owner, world champion, women's leader, and I was trying to find an angle. But different to that, I wanted to actually go a bit more in the beginning. Let's say, similar to us Brazilians, you are a Chinese Canadian. So, going back to that, how do you feel more Chinese, more Canadian, and how does that upbringing brings you to now?
Interesting. So I call myself a banana. So if you're Asian, you would know what that means. So it's yellow on the outside, but actually white on the inside. So because I was born and raised in Canada, so I've got some of the traditions and culture from my parents, but otherwise I grew up in a place very similar to this, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But you find that so were you born in Canada or you moved there very young?
I was born there.
So you were always, from the moment you open your eyes, you were Canadian.
Yep.
Just with, it's probably like my daughters, they're Australians. They just have a Brazilian dad.
Exactly.
And hopefully I put a little bit of my culture in them, but they are mostly.
Do they know Portuguese words?
They do. They don't. Georgia speaks.
Oh wow.
You speak Mandarin or Cantonese?
I speak Cantonese.
Like fluently?
Oh look, enough to get by.
Enough to get by. No, so you're good. So you're there. And with Jiu-Jitsu, one interesting fact, and every time I comment, every time I'm talking to people at the gym or discussing Jiu-Jitsu and progress and results, more often than not, I bring you as a subject, as if I walk into a room, into a legacy training session the past however many years, and someone asks me, who, Thiago, out of the people you have here, who is that, natural talent, that person that you put the eyes and they will just, they have the potential to go anywhere. I'm not sure if I would have picked you from the start, but in saying that, now this turns around to be a compliment, because you, over the years, you just went year in, year out, delivering it. You not only because winning 3 times, world championship in the different belts coming up, but you were always, every year, one step ahead of the before and always achieving the next thing. What do you attribute that to? That's why I started with the question about upbringing and stuff, but do you think that's related to that, or were you always a very disciplined, confident person? How did that come about?
So growing up, I was definitely not a confident person. I would cry all the time. So when I was little, I was a crier. Everyone in my family knew that. And if I couldn't see, I'm getting picked up from school, if I couldn't see my grandma, I would cry. No matter what, I would just break down in tears. But now, I think partially is culturally, in general, my mom, very much a bit of a, not a dragon lady, but, really focused on, academics and doing well in life. So I feel like I've always played sports. So against her will, because Chinese girls, should be doing math, not playing sports. But so I was always drawn to playing sports. So I feel like...
You used to compete in volleyball.
I played volleyball my entire life. And then I started doing paddling. So I was on the national team for Australia. And then after that, I did some outrigger paddling. I don't know if you know what that is.
No.
It's Hawaiian canoes.
Yes, I've seen. I know it.
Yeah.
The ones you paddle on the side.
Yeah. So I did that for quite a few years, and I was lucky enough to be able to travel to lots of different places in the world to compete. So I think competition has, in general, been pretty ingrained in my life.
So maybe your confidence was not just from Jiu Jitsu. You already had this drive, and you already had to perform in other sports growing up, and so Jiu Jitsu was like, you were a beginner in Jiu Jitsu, but you're not a beginner at competition.
So yeah, Jiu Jitsu, it kind of came out of nowhere, really. So Jiu Jitsu was never on the cards. I didn't know what it was or anything, and I was training at, what was it called? It's Crunch Alexandria now, but it used to be called UFC Gym.
UFC Gym, yeah.
Yes, and that's where I became friends with Justin
Mehmed, yeah.
Yeah, one of your OG students, and Jeff O'Hara, shout out. And they love Jiu Jitsu. So I think they were both purple belts, and they love Jiu Jitsu. And they told me, you should try it. Just come and give it a try, you might love it. And I remember going to the edge of the cage and watching a no-gi session and just standing there for 5 minutes going, ew, that looks disgusting.
Too many sweaty people.
I was like, that guy just sweat in his mouth. Ugh. So it took me probably another year before I jumped on the mats with a friend of mine. So I dragged another girl in, and we did our first no-gi session with Masa. I think you know who Masa is.
Of course,
well.
Masahiro.
Yeah, and that was that. I've been on the mats ever since.
Yes, and that's what, 10 to 11 years ago?
Nearly 10. 10 this year.
Nearly 10, and you were already. So that's how many years took you to black belt?
Just shy of 7.
Shy of 7?
Yeah.
Oh, it took me 9 years.
I beat you then. I'm kidding.
Prodigy. Because with achieving things, we always have, especially with social media or with media in general, we see the stories of success, people that are high achievers in their sport or in whatever they're doing, and with that usually comes a personality, that strong persona, that strong character, that the highlight reel type of people. And what do you think people misunderstand about success? Let's say in Jiu-Jitsu, but in general, but let's bring to Jiu-Jitsu. What do you think people misunderstand about success? Do you think we just see what's shown to us on the screen?
I think in general, all we see is little snippets of the best days or the best part of your match or anything on social media nowadays, right? But I think really, how you were explaining that person, and I was like, again, that's really not me. I'm just, I find just chipping away, and I make a schedule for myself, and these are the days that I train. And we were talking about motivation previously, right? Mm-hmm. What motivates you to keep coming and stuff. And I find motivation waxes and wanes. But if you have a schedule and you just stick to the schedule, it's really easy, right? So,
it's like you don't. Do you think how I've heard this years ago, and it's like when you put your alarm for a time in the morning, or when you set yourself to do this training session on a certain day, and until the moment you don't go one day, that wasn't an option. The moment you turn off the alarm, or the moment you decide, oh, not today, I'm a little bit too sore, then from that day on, every time that time comes, you have an option to go and not to go. So do you think that's how you kind of live by? Because if I was to describe, if someone asked me, how do you describe Jess in terms of achieving a performance? I would say consistency. Because I never saw you as the up and down, at least in training on the mats. You are never extra pumped person, like, yeah, today is my day, today I'm here to conquer this session. But I never seen you as the person that is kind of, lazy at training or not wanting to perform. You've always like consistently doing your work. It's like you're pre-programmed to come to training and deliver what you're supposed to deliver, and then move from there. Is that how you try to train? Is that how you try to schedule yourself and leave?
Part of it nowadays is longevity, right? So, I mean, I don't roll crazy. Like, I've never rolled crazy. That's just not really me, because part of it is self-preservation, I think. But I find, but what's the point of going to training, taking time out of your busy day to go into a padded room for an hour and a half, just not to do anything? I don't know. I'd rather go and have dinner with my friends.
Yeah. Well,
right?
you're gonna use the hour anyway, so you may as well get something out of it.
But yeah, back to your morning routine. So I find 6 a.m. classes, because I've been doing 6 a.m. classes ever since I started at Legacy. I remember when Kaya was teaching, and we'd get maybe 2 people on the mats or 3 people on the mats in the old gym. And now, oh man, we've got heaps of people that come, which is wonderful. But it is always hard when you give yourself a break. So, but again, 6 a.m. starts are not that early, because when I used to paddle, I used to be on the water at 5. So I'd be out in Rose Bay at 5 a.m.
So you are a morning person? You have no problems with morning, or is it a struggle?
I'm an anytime person.
Yeah, because you train at night as well, no problem.
Yeah, and my work is all over the place too, so.
Yeah, and you work sometimes later at night, and when we finish training at night, we are there. You can sometimes be one of the last people to leave, and chatting or just there, but you also the person coming early in the morning.
Yeah, it's okay, I don't mind.
Do you sleep?
I do.
Sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah.
Because
I nap. I'm a napper.
Yeah,
so if I have any downtime, I'm asleep.
Yeah, because that's the thing for me. Usually, I find really hard, I try sometimes to switch. I say I'm gonna stop being a night person and being a morning person, but then when I can switch and do that, as soon as I have one later night, then
spirals back.
Yeah. So I find that
you are up quite late.
Late. I perform well at night. Like if I need to do some work, or if I have things that my creative mind after 10:30 at night,
well, it's perfect because your family's asleep.
That's definitely it. And with let's say going back to training and performing, and I remember from early days, you started competing in Jiu Jitsu at least at the white belt, but you always now makes a lot more sense because you always competed. So a lot of people, when they start Jiu Jitsu, takes them ages and get through the nerves of competition. And I always say that having experience in Jiu Jitsu is not the same as having experience in competing. You can be a purple belt. If you never competed, you are a beginner at competition. So your transition to competing was not like the biggest drama, because you were already a live competitor. But when did you feel that? When was the moment you felt, oh, actually, I can be quite good at this. Like I can achieve stuff. Because in the beginning you were 100% hobbyist, right? You were coming in for you didn't even know why. You're in it. When did you think like, right, maybe I can actually aim a little bit higher?
Honestly, I don't know. I just decided one day just to give it a try, because the only other competitions I did mostly were team sports, so it's a little bit different. But I think I was fortunate that I remember it was in a no-gi session. Remember when Gu used to teach on, I think it was like a Tuesday or Thursday night in the old gym, Gustavo, yeah. And I remember it was before the competition. He sat us all down and told us, he's like, look, whether you win or lose, it's very blunt. Whether you win or lose, no one cares. The only person that cares is you. And you don't have to go around apologizing for letting down your coaches or your teammates, because at the end of the day, no one cares about you but you. And I was like, oh, interesting.
That's kind of gives you a bit of freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you realize when it happens, like you go and compete and you win sometimes, you lose sometimes. And it's true, your friends and your coaches really, they'll congratulate you and you've got a shiny new medal, but the next day everything's the same, right?
Yeah, it doesn't change your life,
No.
And when you got up, let's say to, you started competing, we traveled a few times, like local comps, and started doing things like that. When you decided to have a shot at competing internationally or going to Worlds, Like, were you surprised when you kind of won the first one?
Absolutely. But I think I was so I never had any intention of going. But do you remember how that came about?
No.
So remember Josh Hinger?
Josh
You had a
Hinger-
seminar. Yeah, so he
Yeah.
had you brought him in for a seminar at Legacy, and I did a seminar. And he's probably one of my favorite seminar instructors. He's very engaging. He has this thing where he learns every single person's name in the room by the end of that
Yes.
2-hour session. I don't know how he
He's
does
a very thoughtful
Absolutely.
person. And one thing that gets me about him as well is not saying that jiu-jitsu guys are not often, actually for you to be good at jiu-jitsu, you often have to be a little bit smart and intelligent, but he's a highly educated guy.
Very much
Like
so.
you talk to him for a few minutes or, and it's very interesting. But then you're saying you
Yeah, so
You met him here?
So I ended up showing him around a little bit, and he ended up. I think I was in between apartments, so I had an extra place. So he ended up staying at the place that I wasn't in, and he invited me to go to San Diego to train, and I was like, yeah, why not? So I ended up going to train, and he put me up at his and took me to class and stuff, and literally that's how it all came about. So for my first Worlds, so at white belt, he was my corner.
Yeah.
And yeah, great coach, great corner coach.
So it was a bit of a moment where the situation got you to compete. You didn't think, oh, I want to compete. How do I get to this tournament and prepare for it? It was jiu-jitsu holiday
Yep.
that just happened to bring you to the mecca of the jiu-jitsu competitors in the world, which was Atos Jiu-Jitsu at the time, and training in there. It's one of those situations, which is what I believe the most. It's like just training in a room that is naturally preparing people. If it gets to a point that you're just so prepared, or you just feel like, oh, everyone here is at this level, not to use it is a waste. So, but even then, you went there, Jiu-Jitsu holiday, hanging out with Josh and being with him at training and being in that training room, of course, will build a bit of confidence. Because it's pretty much a pool of world champions in
It was
in one room.
eye-opening.
And then you just decided to sign up while you were there.
I picked the dates, and I remember I was looking, and it so happened that it was Worlds, because he said he would be competing and focusing on Worlds. And I was like, oh, should I pick another day? Should I pick another time? And he goes, no, why don't you just do it? And I was like, well, sure, why not? Yeah, and that was that.
And then you won, and the beginning was not Worlds. It was the international.
I can't remember what
Yeah,
it's called.
because
Long Beach
the first one was
International
white belt, right?
Yeah.
And that's for white belts, it's not called Worlds. It's international because they can novice or international beginners or something. But then you came in the higher belts. When you competed Worlds in the next belts, did you feel more pressure? Did you feel something different, or you just felt like, oh, just a repeat, same thing, same training, same preparation? Or did you feel like, oh, because I won it, now I have to kind of outdo myself, or I have to guarantee, did you feel more pressure, or no, you just felt, oh, it's another great trip, another great moment to go and try to win again?
I think I make it sort of I try to do the same, I kind of map it the same, right? So I make it so it's a little bit of a holiday plus, training and then going into competition. And I find it is like, there's a little bit of pressure, but I understand that, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and it's no big deal. And, there's been plenty of times that I haven't won, and, I've come back, or I've seen you afterwards and you tell me what I could have done better, or, we have a little joke and then we move on. And
Jess, I find that this is such as a competitor, my initial years as a coach were hard because I've always competed. So I had my own mindset and how you should feel and think about competition, but not everyone is the same. And I feel that the main thing for me always was, when dealing with competitors or coaching them or helping them through the hard moments, is just how quick you bounce back. Because when you, for example, go to a tournament and you win, as World Championship, for example, you won the World Championship, probably a few hours after you won, you are with the team, going for dinner somewhere, and you were thinking, oh, I'm hungry, where's the best place for food, what time is checkout of the hotel tomorrow, and what do I have to, the rest of the trip, should I go back to to California. How many days more we are here? What should we do tomorrow? You know, what's on the schedule? And that's it. You were world champion 5 hours ago, and you move on. When you lose something, if the result, if the way you feel is much different, let's say if you are upset, depressed for a week, if you think about maybe this is not for me, I should quit, I feel horrible, you shouldn't compete. My view is like you shouldn't compete. The odds are too stacked against you. So
absolutely. I think a lot of people, they put a lot of pressure on themselves, but you have to, you know, if you dissect it, I think, you know, like what you have to find the crux of why it is that you get so stressed out about competing, because there's quite a few people that, you know, they're like, oh, you know, I can't eat, I can't sleep, you know, that's all I think about. And I was like, really? It's, you know, it's not the end of the world, whatever happened. The outcome is not the end of the world, right? Either way. So I think people maybe have to find out what it is exactly that makes them feel that way and kind of let it go, right? Because it's always an expectation in your head that sort of, it probably doesn't really make sense to why it's stressing you out so much.
But how do you deal with it, and what would you say, for example, what is your strategy to deal and cope with it? With winning, we all see as you know, it's easy. I personally don't find as easy as is shown to be when you win, especially when you win something that, you know, you've been trying to win for a very long time, or something that matters to you. But when you lose, when you don't make it, how do you make it so to be okay? Because it's easier to say, look, oh, you lost, it's okay. But how do you approach that in your head? Because if you went to compete, clearly you wanted to win. Clearly
we're not just here to participate.
Nobody went there to participate. But how do you deal with it? Like, how do you guide yourself out of, you know, not feeling frustrated or disappointed?
Yeah. Can I clarify first?
Yeah.
The worlds that I've been to post white belt is masters, so very different, right?
Yeah.
So it's not adult worlds, it's master worlds.
Very different. In maybe the prestige.
Yes, prestige and the competition level, I wouldn't say is the same.
But I find that in terms of, how do you find in terms of pressure? Because it's a huge event. What do you think is the pressure of competing? It's how tough the competitor or the person you're fighting against is? Or is the pressure of the audience and the pressure of how many eyes you have on you?
Oh, I think probably locally, I would say the audience, because more people know you. But when it's overseas, nobody knows you, so it doesn't matter, I find. But there is a difference, like, you know, you've fought Master Worlds, yes?
Yes.
And did you notice a huge difference between Master Worlds and Adult Worlds? Like the Master Worlds, they are jacked. There's some very, very
big
built.
Humans. Yeah.
I remember I was watching Mark Lobwin fight one year, and he got ragdolled. And have you ever seen Mark Lobwin even close to getting ragdolled?
Yeah, no, he's prior to Jiu Jitsu, he was a bodybuilder, you know, and a proper bodybuilder. So he was big. But there is this thing, and how that's another very interesting thing with World Masters and big in Jiu Jitsu in general. We are in the new era of, you know, longevity, enhancing ourselves physically, you know, enhancing performance, and for many years this was very frowned upon. Like, oh, you're taking even certain supplements, or you're taking, you know, now peptides, or you're taking hormones, or whatever you're doing. And I think science evolving and creating this massive niche now for people to perform better. When I go to World Masters and I see, you know, guys and girls in their 40s, 50s, we see people there in their 60s performing in ways that, you know, a normal 40, 50-year-old shouldn't perform. I don't know how in the beginning, there was the eyes on like, oh, it shouldn't be happening. But it might turn out that some people are actually healthier, happier, and also performing well. Like, do you see it the same way, or you feel like, this shouldn't be happening? This is.
I don't think it should be happening. I think
You
it's
don't
cheating,
you think
personally.
True, but in some events,
Sorry.
in some events, like for example, ADCC is known. There's no doping.
Mm-hmm.
You can be geared up to the gills and
But
go
that's
and
different
compete.
because they don't care.
They don't care. World Masters, do they have control? I don't know if they have control.
I don't think so. I think they only do it for Worlds, right?
For
Or the
Worlds, yeah.
majors? Yeah, black belt majors, right?
Yeah, I think for events that are legally accepted,
Whatever.
nothing to do. But for other events, true, but World Masters, yeah, I saw Mark there. He was like, I didn't see Mark competing, but to imagine someone doing that to Mark is kind of, different. But did you feel like that in your division, in the female division? Because look, you wouldn't fall into the category of maybe not being a super strong person for your division. You're stronger than me, so I have to say that out loud. But like, I have trouble, when you actually try to lock legs on me, and I feel like, man, it's sad to see that Jess
We're
stronger than
in
me.
half guard now. That's where we are. I find, I'm looking at the men and women that are there, they're obviously not natural. And the people, like, they are strong, but I feel there's not that many people out there that are very, very strong and have really good technique. I find sometimes there's kind of a one or the other.
Right. So some people are just very strong and athletic. Some people are very technical. Are you talking about all the belts, or just going to the higher belts as well?
Probably all the belts.
Yeah.
What would you think? What do you think?
The way I see it in terms of masters competition, world masters, is like, if you are blue, purple, even brown belt, and you're competing in the masters, you were probably someone that started jiu-jitsu a little bit later. So, I see a lot of what you're saying. But when you go to the black belt division, and you can look any division from the quarterfinals forward, and most of those guys that are making to the quarterfinals, semifinals, they've been competing in the black belt adult division their whole life. A lot of them that are winning already have been world champions, in the adult division. So I find that in the World Masters, when I compete, the biggest difficulty I found, especially after passing a few matches, when I start facing the real competitors, the experienced ones, is that 5 minutes was a problem. Because with 5 minutes against someone that is technically very good, if you make one mistake, you don't recover. This is it. If someone really good scored 2 points, sometimes a couple of advantages on you, this is it. They're not going to make a mistake. So that's what I found in the higher belts. If you see the champions, the world champions black belt, masters, are, I think 90% names that you know.
Absolutely.
And you always knew. Are guys that are just transitioning, and now they're winning masters 1, 2, 3, 4,
There's heaps of superstars. at World
Exactly.
Masters.
So, and I think that comes to the longevity thing we were talking about. Like people are just being able to be champion for longer now, just for the fun of it.
Maybe due to
Yeah. Well, maybe it's true. It's an interesting point. I'm not sure if I'm nowadays so against it in terms of, again, if the rules are set in a certain way, but it's true. People are more and more.
But like, I just find there's so many people that don't even compete, that are just gym warriors, that are on gear,
gearing up
And,
just to
like, really.
Yeah,
Do you
it's
need to be?
it's
Is it keeping
interesting.
you on the mats? Is that what you're using it for, or
Yeah.
or what? What's the reason, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm natty for life.
No, but I feel it's a super strong point, because there's so many people that would have that approach, in favor or against, and I don't think it can ever be discredited, the opinion of someone that says, look, how about we all just try to live as best as we can naturally? Now, one counter argument I've heard from that is like, all right, are we all equally let's say, genetically favored. You know, like there's some guys, for example, or some girls that, you know, would do super well in all aspects without the need of everything. There's other people that were like, I'm not so favored, so I wouldn't be the same for me. Or, you know, there's always the two sides. But if you can live your life optimally, natural, I don't think there's a best outcome. I don't think there's a better option. No one can claim, even if you are living greatly naturally, you still should go the other way.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe I'll change my mind at some point when when I age even more.
Yeah.
We'll see. But currently.
But do you feel great training? You train pretty
Yeah.
much every day now.
Yeah, training's still pretty good.
Not only train, actually, you were talking about time passing and when you age more or when you age, and you started training, competing, and then you stepped up to working with Jiu Jitsu as well. You know, you were one of the owners of Legacy Parramatta, which just added another layer, which owning the business was maybe a step up, but you already manage a business, so you already had that experience. How are you finding the part that I've discussed with you a few times of entering a position of leadership among as a black belt or among the females in our gym and now in the sport?
I think, I don't know, it's kind of been a gradual step up, right? So, you know, ever since kind of Mary left, I've run our women's open mats. And then with Legacy Parramatta, I just decided to start off, you know, teaching the women's classes and whatnot. And I find, it's been really interesting, but it's not, I don't necessarily think it's been that difficult because I think the community itself, like especially with the women, it's been like we all support each other really well.
Yeah.
You know, I think, and a lot of the girls that, especially from, you know, Legacy, I've known for quite a long time.
Yeah.
They've been training with me for a long time. And I think with Parramatta, starting Parramatta, and just making sure that we build something that's female friendly. I think, and with every gym that we build, you know, we want to set a higher bar, right? And, you know, like to start off with, remember, that was your, I can't remember, the Legacy that I joined at, was that your second or third?
Chippendale?
Yeah.
That's my first.
That was your first
Oh,
one?
sorry, not my first location, but that's Legacy. The headquarters was my first ever gym.
Yeah.
But the location had moved maybe 3 or 4 times by the time we were there on Chippen Street.
Yeah, so I think just starting there, look, I think that was quite a while now, quite a while ago now. And were there many girls on the mats? Probably. Oh, what would you say the percentage was, male to female?
I would say it was 15, 10%. But I think there were less girls in the sport altogether. Like when I started Jiu Jitsu, there were very few girls, and later, you know, like by the time you joined, I think to now it has exploded in terms of girls in the sport. And on that leadership part, you know, when your early days of leadership, I think when Mary left and you were a new black belt, we had that transition where you started taking over the girls open mat and taking over the girls team in a way. And I remember when I mentioned to you like how do you feel being in a position of leadership or leading them? And you were a bit like, oh no, I'm not the leader. I'm just a person. I'm just doing the job.
Organizing things.
I'm just organizing things. And I feel that, you know, I'm learning as time goes now. There is an image of the leader as the most vocal person, the stronger personality, you know, the person that drives everyone. At Legacy, I feel that Mary did that extremely well. She was like the alpha female of every day on the mats. She, you know, lead by doing it herself first. And do you feel it's possible to be a quiet leader
Absolutely. There's lots of different types of leadership, right? So Mary was very good at walking the walk, right? She wanted, this is what I can do, you can do it too. Whereas I'm kind of more, I would say more of a supportive leader. So
To
it's
create
like,
the environment for people to do
exactly, yeah. Trying to create an environment where people want to participate, or more people want to participate.
And is that the type of leader you want to become? Like, do you now that you're stepping more and more, we'll get to it, but we'll talk about the Sydney Women BJJ Collective. I get it right?
Yep, you got it right.
But it's another role of leadership now that you've expanded outside of legacy to women in Jiu Jitsu in general. But within legacy and moving up to your new role, do you kind of structure the type of leader you want to become, or the type of leadership you want to create for what you're doing?
Well, first of all, I'm not the leader. There's a bunch of us. So I've got we have a chat I call it the Brains Trust. So, we don't make decisions on where we go or what date or anything like that based on just me. So, I've got, I don't even know how many people in the chat, maybe like 30 people with a load of black belts and stuff. So we do it kind of collaboratively, everything we do.
Yeah, and I'm always trying to, with legacy and with my job, I always try to, initially I was a competitor and I became a coach, which is the first transition I think we go through.
Yep.
Then from coach, I started doing what I do now, which I will name it a facilitator. I have to create the environment for coaches to become head coaches or gym owners or follow their path. And I'm kind of I have to create the environment for that. But I noticed that from the early days that you started leading, a lot of people that take that position, especially in Jiu Jitsu, they focus on performance. You being a high achiever in competition, you had the medals, you had the white to black belt, good run to back it. Most people will guide that through performance. You will focus on the intensity of the training or what you can deliver or on that. And I noticed that you focused a lot more, your leadership and your style, into culture. You started creating, I saw that your prime vision was to create a better culture, to create a better, safer, physical and mental environment for everyone. Was that always like your goal?
Yeah, well, my goal for the collective was never to make it so that, we do comp trainings or, I feel like sometimes when, let's say men look at women's events, they think it's either, they're just, laughing and talking about feelings. Like I wasn't looking at anything on either end of those. I was looking at just kind of, why I started it was I saw in Gold Coast, actually, they had a women's open mat series, and every month or two I saw them coming up with 10 or 15 women out to them, and I was like, well, we don't have anything like that here. So kind of that's where it came from. And I remember in our first open mat, which we had at Legacy Parramatta, we had over 50 women come. So, and I think my vision was that I wanted it to be no drama, no affiliation, no politics. Just come and have fun and meet new people. Because let's be real, what keeps you engaged in a sport long term, or what keeps you coming back is, especially in adulthood, you make friends through hobbies, right? Hobbies and sports compared to anything else. So that was really the goal, just to connect more women. Because in your individual gyms, you might have, at a small gym, you might have 5 girls. At a big gym, you might have 20. But if you get everyone together, you realize there's heaps of us out there.
Exactly, and growing.
Absolutely.
And like you just mentioned, that open mat. I remember that open mat you did at Parramatta, and you got about, you said 50 girls on the mat. And recently now you organize a seminar for with Michelle Nicolini, and I think you got what?
60
people joining the seminar.
60 women on the mat.
My view of, and I always discuss this, of what is a leader or leadership. Anyone can be named. name someone to be a leader of a group or leader of a team. What defines them as a leader is how many people are willing to follow. You know, I can give you a title, a badge, Jess, you're the leader, and then I said, okay, just lead people in that direction. And there's no one or there's two people following. Oh, you're clearly not the leader. But when you take actions like this and you say, all right, I'm organizing this, you know, this is my idea, the vision I have for this group, for this collective, and people back it.
Yeah.
You organize a seminar or you organize an event and people follow. So I feel that that's what defines leadership or not.
But it's collaboration. Like, I would never have been able to do that by myself.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Absolutely. It's just getting the right people involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leadership. Getting the right people, doing the right things, yeah. If otherwise, the alternative is dictatorship.
True.
Where you just drive people to do things, you know. And whichever works, right?
Yeah, sure.
But usually, you know, the experiences we had in the world with the latter didn't really go too well long term. But you know, so we try to avoid that direction, you know. But in doing things this way, do you think gym owners in general, or leaders team leaders, gym owners, or head coaches, what responsibilities do you think we have now, other than just delivering, you know, high-level jiu-jitsu? Because I think jiu-jitsu went way past that now, you know.
Well, what are the issues that have come up recently, right? What are the major issues that have been kind of coming up in the last?
Abuse of power, and a lot of them would you say they are due to bad culture in the gym? Or
hierarchy, bad culture issues, and I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of different reasons why things like that happen, but I think a solution is just, you know, one solution is getting more women into leadership roles, right? I think that makes it leadership roles.
Leadership roles, yeah.
Yeah, to mix it up, because I mean, most gyms, you'll find that if there's any women in leadership at all, it might be the kids coach or the kids coach assistant or something like that, right? So I find, women need to be more involved in leadership.
Well, and I think with the sport, growing, like we just spoke a few minutes ago, like when you started, there were very few females in the sport. Go back years before, there were even less. But in the last few years, this has exploded. And we are having more and more girls in the sport. So that's probably, you know, the start of that becoming even a real option of, you know, having more, because it's not only, we need to put more women in certain positions. Well, we have to have, let's say, a pool of women getting more and more qualified.
Absolutely.
And more into the sport. Like, for example, at Legacy, out of all our gyms, we have one, not only black belt gym owner, you know, is you know, and hopefully in the future there will be more, because at the moment, any position that we decided among the gym owners to say, we need a female for this position, well, we can choose Jess, or maybe Jess, because you are the only one.
We have other girls.
No, but I'm saying that falls into the black belt gym owner, you know, as we have so many men black belt gym owners, and I feel that, you know, this is hopefully the beginning of that happening more and more. But with all the issues we have now and all the problems, I have one view. I've been thinking a lot, watching all that when you have a very small group of friends, you have 5-10 friends that you choose to go out with or to spend time. Usually it's very easy to get a group of 5-10 people that are really nice in all aspects, that you have no problems with them at all. Once you increase that group to, let's say, 50, you have someone that have a bit of a bad temper, someone that is kind of nice but annoying some days. Let's say we increase this group to 100 now. Now you have some people that you don't really know them that well, or some people that, you know, maybe even don't have a good character. And one thing that I feel is happening with Jiu-Jitsu is that, go back in time, when you had just a very small community, it was so much easier to have that.
Vet people.
Now Jiu-Jitsu is huge. There's so many people in Jiu-Jitsu. So we have the great people, the amazing people, the not so great, and the bad. Jiu-Jitsu now is like the famous Gracie Barra saying, Jiu-Jitsu for everyone. It's like everyone, the good and the bad. And a lot of people now are able to get to certain positions that like creates a certain chance to abuse power or to, just if you are not good, you might do Jiu-Jitsu and still be not good. Jiu-Jitsu might not change you with that.
Well, let's have a look at that whole thing, right? So historically, it's people kind of put forward the idea that in order to be a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, you have to be a good person. That's a thing, right? And I feel like that's not necessarily true. I mean, maybe like, in your example, when the pool was really small and there were only a certain number of people grading people that, they knew them well and they knew, upstanding character, good person, great jiu-jitsu, tick, 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 right? Whereas nowadays, there's so many people that are promoting people that, may care about that, may not care about that. So I think...
So you think that...
That shouldn't be a sales pitch, I think.
That shouldn't be, that should be more controlled.
No, I just think that we have to, everyone thinks, or it's been talked about that black belts, that you get a black belt because you're good at jiu-jitsu and because you're a good person. And that may not be the case.
May not be the case anymore.
Yeah.
But if you, let's say, do you believe that jiu-jitsu in general is still better people, that helps people to become better, or jiu-jitsu is a tool to make you become a better human, better person, or... No, it just makes you good at...
No, I think it teaches you.
Sport.
Jiu-Jitsu in itself has taught me lots of things, right? As like in dealing with a hierarchy, understanding your place in the pecking order, or even just dealing with different people's egos, or dealing with your own ego when you lose a round, or whatever happens. So I think you can learn so much stuff. The classic of being comfortable in uncomfortable positions, which. Then helps me with my job a lot as well.
In what way?
Oh, just, if you're getting smashed under a 120 kilo guy in side control, you're not dead there. You're probably not gonna, what can be worse than that, really, in your job where, you didn't make budget or your P&L doesn't look great. Well, still not getting smashed under a 120 kilo.
Just tie your belt and go again.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, true. I feel that part, the resilience and all that, and it's true. I believe the best skill we get from jiu-jitsu is like dealing with problems fast under pressure. For me, absolutely. Is self-defense and all that. Even though self-defense might be necessary, hopefully not so much. In first world countries like Australia or a lot of other places.
I feel like in Australia you do probably need a little bit of self-defense techniques.
A little bit of self-defense techniques, but dealing with I advocate a lot for example, when we talk about self-defense and self-defense classes, we don't run them as much. Now in the foundation program that we are starting, we do add self-defense as part of the warm-up. But I find that if you get someone that is a sports jiu-jitsu person that is quite experienced, the self-defense will be there. I believe self-defense, when we look self-defense... It's
integrated into the sport.
Yeah, because when you look self-defense videos and people... that do jiu-jitsu look at that and say, oh, that doesn't work. That's, you grab the hand and you twist like that. It does work. Trained person versus non-trained person. Now, when you talk about someone, when you learn jiu-jitsu, what you learn is not to change your instincts. It's not to do things as someone not trained will do. So when you try to apply self-defense against someone that is also trained, they will not react the way a non-trained person would. So that's when trained person versus trained person, we arrive at MMA. It's like, that's not self-defense, but this is the self-defense of two trained people, two people that understand jiu-jitsu fighting. And I feel that that's when sports jiu-jitsu become more efficient. If you are having to defend yourself against someone that knows how to do jiu-jitsu, sports will save you more than your ABC self-defense, maybe.
Like since I've been in Australia, I've been running pubs, and we get very colorful people in pubs, and people are like, oh yeah, you can take anyone down, you can, I was like, oh no, I have no interest in trying to fight a guy who's full of beer and a lot bigger than me. That's not, that's not what Jiu Jitsu has taught me, that I'm going to be able to beat anyone up on the street.
To be a warrior. Yeah.
No, that's not it at all.
And yeah, but like in that sense, for example, like you just mentioned your job and working in a pub, of course, that's an environment that as a person or as a female, you are naturally guarded because there's involves people not always, with good intentions, people with alcohol or,
Drugs.
like under drugs or an influence of substances. So you have security, you have things in place to keep you safe. What do you think, are the things that jiu-jitsu gyms need to have so people feel safe? Because in theory, you are in a safe environment. You came to a martial arts gym where the black belts are supposed to be really good people. Everyone is there for the greater good, but which supposedly you should have your guard down because you are in a safe environment. But what are the things that you feel like, all right, for you to feel safe in the gym, what do we need?
Well, leadership, good leadership, first of all, who set clear boundaries on, what techniques we do and we don't do, and, just how the higher belts carry themselves with beginners and whatnot. But like, you can feel it, right? Like, I mean, you've been to so many gyms before, but it's pretty evident straight away when you get on the mats to know, if you can feel it, whether it's
what are the red flags?
Red flags.
Some red flags, you know what I mean? That you would tell people now that you've been on the mats, you trained in many places around the world, you met many people through jiu-jitsu. Like when you mentioned before, for example, you met Josh, in a seminar here, you got to know, you were comfortable traveling, training with him or, staying in close proximity, participating in classes. You would, I believe you would be able to tick off the red flags. I said, no, this is a real, true, nice person, black belt, that I should be safe around it, and how do you pick red flags?
With gyms, I would say, first of all, if it's clean, like you can kind of see if it's dirty to start with, like, when I say dirty, not old, like dirty as in like they clearly don't clean things properly. And people, how they carry themselves. Like how at Legacy I'm biased because, I've been with Legacy for so long, but I feel like we're kind of like in the middle ground, we're not super culty, but we're not do whatever you want. So I find like in places that aren't safe, like probably visible skin infections, like don't care, people look dirty, and like you can kind of pick up.
So hygiene
is huge. Yeah, absolutely.
I would think hygiene is a problem, but I wouldn't think of as a red flag.
Red flag. Huge red flag. As you know me for a long time now, and I'm pretty blunt. So, if we're about to roll and I look on your arm, I'll point at your arm and be like, what's that?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, no, it's just an ingrown hair. That is staph. Please get away from me.
Yeah, true. Well, and nowadays you gotta do whatever to stay safe. But what about, for example, we have lots of things are coming up now, and there's people being safe health-wise, being safe mentally, psychologically safe. I feel that the psychological part is the one that it falls in between all the things that are happening now, where we get the cases of, abuse. We have, the cases of, health problems and all that in gyms that are, filthy. But the psychological part, I feel that is coming up. When you mention the culty parts, how do you pick that apart? How do you know? Because how do you protect yourself before you get into it? Because a lot of people that I know that were been in culty situations, they only understood after they were out.
Absolutely, but that's kind of like really traditional jiu-jitsu schools are very, when I say culty, is, you've got the supreme leader, you've got that one guy, right? But, that guy who sets a tone for kind of everything else that goes on. And, you can feel it straight away, I think. Like you may not know, or you, as a beginner who hasn't been around to lots of different places, you might think, oh, this is just the way it is, you know. But and then, which is, you know, also funny how historically, jiu-jitsu instructors or coaches or professors haven't wanted their students to go to other places to visit, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I wonder sometimes if that's a lack of, like, do you think that the techniques that you're teaching are so groundbreaking that, you know, you don't want to share that with the world? Or is it that you're worried that you're not cutting the mustard? I'm not sure. But I feel like the head coach and all the coaches definitely make a big difference to what the culture is and for what people are allowed to get away with. Like I really, honestly, like, I mean, I've been with Legacy so long because I like where we position ourselves, you know. You've been very strict with certain things, like, you know, for safety, or certain things for, you know, because we have kids around, or, you know, like implementing, like something so small as putting rash guards on under our gis, because that didn't happen until we moved into the new gym, the gym that we're in now.
Yeah.
And
I think it was just before, yeah. Caio was actually the instigator of that. And to be honest, when I started training jiu-jitsu, no gi jiu-jitsu when I started, was just those Brazilian little MMA shorts, no shirt, no nothing. So this was it.
So no women were there, obviously.
No women were there. When I started training, like years later here in Australia, we started wearing board shorts. The board shorts for me was already hard because they twist on your leg and it was just like physically hard.
Yeah.
Moving on to years later, when some gyms started having rush guards under their gi, I remember that me and Caio discussing it at the previous gym, and that we should do it. And I remember putting in my mind, it makes sense. I'll put the rush guard on. A few minutes into training, I'll be pulling it off my gi, taking the rush guard, saying, man, I cannot do this. It's impossible. It was physically impossible.
Restricting.
And Caio adapted so well. And after a while, we were talking, I said, man, I'm just going to have to try this. Nowadays, if I train without a rush guard, I feel weird.
Yeah.
But definitely, things like that could have been steps of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember getting one, like, I mean, when I think, was I blue? I think I was promoted in the new gym. Yeah, to purple, so I was still blue. So I was getting smashed a lot with men with no rash guards. And it's a lot of chest hair all over my grill. But, you know, if you flip it and, you know, we're just wearing sports bras, you know, that could make other people feel uncomfortable as well. You know, it's the same, right? Both ways.
It's one of those things that, you know, like the more you organize and control in a certain way, I didn't see, like, when you look at the outcome, you almost don't see the negative. If you, like say, if you wear a long sleeve rush guard and you wear spats in no gi, you're having less skin contact. Is that being negative towards your training and performance? Probably not.
Better for your
health. Is that doing, you know, keeping you cleaner with less chance of skin infection? Yeah, so why not to adopt it? I feel that this is definitely the way to go with things, you know, like with protecting people more and more in all senses. And with I remember when we had recently, you know, all these developments, which is crazy now around the world. It seems like in one moment, jiu-jitsu is just getting bombs dropped in every area. And in the first one,
it's not different in any other sport, though. I think it's just a time where people are
jiu-jitsu grew too much, and it's happening.
Oh no, but I think it's happening in lots of sports, right?
True, yeah.
The same issues happening in many, many different sports. I think people are just more willing to come forward to say something now.
True.
Yeah.
And with that, I remember that here at Legacy, we had meetings about it, and we were in two minds. It's like, I go back to COVID, when we decided to close or not our gyms back in the day. It never happened before, so people don't know how to react. And with everything that was happening now, with this, you know, problems in jiu-jitsu, with abuse of power, and, you know, like women being abused, we were trying to figure out how to take a position or not to take a position. I was personally watching a lot of people going for clickbait. Still are. There's people now putting notes of this, notes of that. you know, and there's people that put a note on top of a note on top of a note. And, you know, I saw some guys now that are talking about all different subjects on notes. And we were discussing putting something out or not. I remember the big part of the team was like, nah, this will bring bad publicity, which in a way it could, you know, because when people see something, they go straight like, oh, what happened? What did you guys do? You know, like, yeah, who is in trouble? And I felt that at the time we discussed as a team, and that being a problem happening mostly, not only, but mostly towards women, we kind of had a chat and said, look, we have, among all of us gym owners, we have one female. Let's get her opinion on that. You know, you were very strong about like, look, I think we have to do something. I remember you contacted me, Thiago, are you going to do something? Or I just do it myself, or we do it over there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to force you into
no,
it, right?
but you, I felt like not forcing, but you were very strong about like, okay, this is the moment in time to do something about it, and it's not the time to just, you know, look the other way and let things continue. And like, do you feel that it was important to use this moment and to be strong and to do things in that way, or is something that you feel it's going to change, it's helping change, and do you have like a strong opinion about it?
I do have a strong opinion about it, because I feel like it's kind of the point in which we draw a line in the sand, right? We say, look, this is what we stand for. And on my personal page, I put that, you know, it's not because we're responding to something that happened within our gyms, you know? Like, that's everyone. When someone reads something like that, they always go, oh, crap, what happened, you know? But yeah, something did happen. It didn't mean that it happened with us. It means that it does happen, and it's happened before, and it will probably happen again. But, you know, we have decided that this is what we stand for, right? Not like it's not for clickbait. Like, some people might use it as clickbait, and that's, you know, the choice, right? But for us, I feel like for us, it was like, well, this is what happens already within our gyms, but this is us, you know, putting our money where our mouth is, because this is what we say, and we have to do what we say, right? Or else, you know, like, that's our integrity.
Of course, and I saw actually this week with all the things that happened in the past in Brazil as well. I saw Thaleson putting a note. I think he just put a note in Portuguese, a video in Portuguese talking about it. But he was pretty much talking about the victims, the people commenting on victims that were now coming out and telling what happened with them 8, 9, 12 years ago. And asking them, well, why you didn't say anything? It's been 12 years, or why you didn't mention anything, or why you stayed there, or why you kept training there, or why you were also getting something back because you kept evolving through that team or that group that were also doing these bad things to you. And he had a very strong position, because he said, look, it happened to him when he was really young, when he was 12. And he said at the time, he was scared, embarrassed. He kept it quiet, didn't tell his mom, his family, his friends, and he just pushed through, kept going, didn't know what to do. It's just something he wasn't expecting. And so his opinion was, the people that are now questioning, the people that are coming out and telling their story, are the reason why more people are not gonna come out if they have something like that, because you were really scared of what would happen if you told other people, or you told the world, and how you would be judged or not believed. And then now you come out and say something, and exactly the same thing happened. People judge, and
self-fulfilling,
you know,
prophecy.
So do you find that this is like kind of
yeah, it's interesting, the naysayers, or the people who, you know, question why people like, but this, we know in, like, when it comes to domestic abuse, sexual assault, all that stuff, that a lot of people don't report things straight away. Like, it's quite normal, because, well, you don't know if this person has an ability to get out of the situation, or if they're being threatened, or anything, right? Like, I mean, you might only be in that country because, as an athlete, because they're sponsoring your visa. You know, you don't know. There's lots of reasons why people can't get out of situations, right? And then when they feel a bit safer, they can tell their story, or they see other people telling their story, they can tell their story. But I absolutely do not believe that someone is just making something up 12 years later. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
You will come out just to.
Yeah, like, like Joe Blow over there said, his story. Oh, I'm going to come up with my own story. What for? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. And if you were, let's say, with everything you're doing now, with the roles you're taking, we're talking about leadership, we're talking about the collective, and actually a few days ago we were having a chat, that you raised the last seminar that you got 60 people in it. You raised these funds, and you were like carefully asking me questions and going around. I said, Thiago, who is the best charity for me to donate, and what? And you're being very thoughtful in that way. Like you kind of really cared about who you would donate to or do things to. So the way I see it is one more thing going up in your leadership, where you are kind of thinking, okay, I did as a competitor, I'm doing it as a gym owner, I'm doing it as a women's leader now, and I'm trying to take a step to help further, like to pass this on. Mm-hmm. Where do you see this going more? Like, do you have like an end, a goal you want to achieve, or you just feel, look, I just want to do as much as I can and see where that goes?
I wouldn't say that I have a specific goal. I feel like with kind of the evolution, and because I think the collective has been around for nearly 2 years. Yeah, give or take, like close to 2 years. Mm-hmm. I just kind of want to see where we can take it. I don't really have any specific goals.
Not as
quite
specific
honestly,
agenda.
No. I'm just trying to think. No, I'm the girls in the Brains Trust always have new ideas for what we can do, what other areas in Sydney we can include or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, I forgot what your original question was.
No. My question was more like if you because you are taking steps up mm-hmm. and forward towards this, yeah. And if you have a trajectory you want to achieve, let's say, I want all right, I'm a gym owner. I stepped into being a leader in the women's community in Jiu Jitsu. I'm trying to help to use my leadership in the women's now to help other people or charities, or do you have a next step, or you kind of you're just navigating as you see opportunities?
Really, just that. But like, no matter what, I mean, with the collective, the goal of it is really just making the place better than like making the space, the sport, the whatever it is, a better place than when you found it, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And one question that I wanted to leave towards the end: if you could go back now and coach and tell something to the white belt Jess coming in,
yeah,
into jiu-jitsu, into life, what would you tell her? Like, Jess, you know what? Go a little bit more this way, will work better, or that way, or be careful with this, or do more of that. Would you coach her to do anything differently?
In regards to how I've kind of ended up where I am, not so much, but in jiu-jitsu specifically, yes. So I harp on this all the time, like throughout my white belt days and stuff. Like, I started out quite athletic, so I was able to get, quite a few wins and whatnot without actually knowing too much jiu-jitsu. But the power of the underhook. That's the power of the underhook. That's what I have to put forward to, especially new girls, new people. When you're starting jiu-jitsu, is the power of the underhook. And get that working as much as possible. That's right, or else you're going to get your back taken. Great work. Thanks, Jess. Thank you so much, Thiago. Thank you for today. Thank you. Can I move now?